Many of us are raised to grow up, get good grades in school so we can get a good job so we can support ourselves. And that was the mindset in my house when I grew up. But as I worked my life away, and I worked 40 years, I started thinking, what would my life have looked like if I had this time back? If I hadn't spent 8, 10, 12 hours a day trying to earn a living? And I started thinking about what I could do now to get some of my time back. Many times we do not think beyond what we are taught to do. We don't think that there is any other way to live. But I started watching other people who had retired in their 50s, and I thought, I want that. I want to be able to get some of my time back while I can still enjoy it. Hi, I'm Bonita, and if you're new to the channel, I'm early retired. I retired at 57 years and 10 months, and I worked 40 years in the work system. I strove to make sure that my Social Security would be at a good level before I quit. I kept an eye on SSA.gov and I monitored that for predictions on how much my Social Security would be. I also made a retirement budget and I practiced living on that for 2.5 years before I quit to make sure that when I did quit, I could still manage to make it and live comfortably. So, how did I change my thinking? That was key to me being able to believe in myself that I could quit early and I would be able to manage and ride it out until Social Security. And some of the things that I did is I started looking at what would my life look like without a paycheck? Would I be able to manage? And I started looking at the things that I had been purchasing over the years. How would my life look if I couldn't purchase things because I didn't have that regular check coming in? I started looking at the fact that many of the things that I did purchase over my life were because I had another check coming in. And I started retraining my thinking. A big part of being able to know that I could make it was to make myself be accountable and stay on track with my budgeting. I started tracking my spending to see if I was really within the budget that I had set. For many years, I had a budget, but I didn't know if I was staying within that budget I had set. I just kind of ballparked it. I thought I was within that budget because my checking account balance wasn't zero. And then I realized that that wasn't a very good way to manage it because when my checking account wasn't zero, I was making decisions to spend based on the fact that I still had money in my checking account. So it gave me more insight into how I was spending my money, and I started tightening the belt on that. Another thing I started doing was asking myself questions when I went to buy something. Is this something I really need? Is it something that's going to make me happy longer than a minute, longer than 48 hours? Why am I purchasing this? Am I purchasing it because I had a plan before I came in, or am I purchasing it because I came in and I saw that and it triggered me to think that I needed this item or I wanted this item, which if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't even have thought about it twice. And then I started asking myself, can you afford it really? I know that you have another check coming in, but you have Christmas, birthdays, you have bills that will be regular. And those things are things that you have to cover. So, can you afford this really? Is it really that important that you take the money that you've saved to spend it on this item? I started telling myself there will be emergencies, there will be things that come up. And do you really want to dip into your savings for those emergencies, or would you rather pull them out of the money that you are using paycheck to paycheck so that that savings is there and it continues to build? And I started retraining my thinking on everything that I spent money on. That's when I realized how much of my spending had not been stable, how much of it had been things that I bought on a whim or I decided to buy because I had the money, and I wasn't really looking at the big picture. I was just looking at the right now. And I think a lot of us get caught up in that. A lot of us think we have a lot of years ahead of us to save. We're going to live our best life right now in our 30s, 40s, and then our 50s hit. And it's kind of like you're blindsided. You're like, wow, now I'm really closer to retirement than I've ever been. And I haven't been saving all of this time. Maybe I better take a look at where my money is actually going. Because for most of us in our 50s, we're maybe making more money than we've ever made in our lives. And that makes it easier to spend it on things that we haven't really thought through that well. We, for the first time, have money that is flexible, but sometimes that flexible money is the money we can move into making our lives more stable. And I know that I had not saw the big picture, and then I started looking at that. All of this flexible spending could be going towards paying off my debt or making my life more stable. So then when and if I decide that I need to quit my job or want to quit my job, I have options. Up until now, I never thought about having options. But as I reached my 50s and started getting a lot of physical problems that made it difficult to get up every day and go to work and be there for the entire day and come home, I started thinking, the future is not promised, and you are pushing yourself so hard because you have not taken that flexible spending and made it stable money in your savings account. Changing your thinking from having a regular paycheck to not being as dependent on a regular paycheck, it can take a lot of forms. It can be things like stretching your meals, adding shredded potatoes, shredded carrots, shredded zucchini, rice, oatmeal to things to bulk them up. Not going shopping and looking at what sounds good, but looking at what is on sale and how you can use that to your benefit with the things you already have at home to make your money stretch. How you can cut back on how many utilities you're using and how much you're depending on the systems that you pay for on a regular basis. Starting a garden, protecting your food from food waste, building some side income or some passive income from savings or from CDs. There are lots of ways that you can move yourself into a way that you can be less dependent on that paycheck. And those are great building steps to take before you go into retirement and then you don't have that regular paycheck. Taking any extra money that you have now that you've taken a look at your flexible spending, putting that towards savings, putting that towards making sure you are debt free. Those are things that are so important, along with building some of that side income or passive income so that you have a little bit of flexibility and you're not so stressed about not having any money coming in. It kind of eases you into that way of thinking. I started taking a look at everything I had purchased, looking at things that I didn't need anymore, selling things that I didn't need anymore, use anymore, or I had no purpose for, and being able to build a little bit of extra income from maybe selling some of those items. Those are all great ways to get a little bit of your money back if you have fallen into that spending trap. I was so proud of my oldest daughter the other day. She was telling me about how she had this person that was always trying to encourage her to buy this for her house or buy this for her house. And she said, "My house is furnished. I don't need anything like that. I have everything I need." And I told her, "You just hit the nail on the head for the secret that is needed to be able to save money." Telling yourself that you have everything you need is the secret to stopping that extra spending and being able to put away money so that you have it for the things that come up in the future. So maybe you have fallen into this trap yourself. Maybe you are still working and spending a lot on extra things that probably don't bring you that much joy, but time would bring you more joy. But we are all trained that this is what we do. We get up, we go to work, we earn earn a paycheck, we buy things, and we do it again tomorrow. But if time is your most important thing, if it is the thing that you need the most to make you happy, or if you were going to work every single day like I was in horrible pain and still spending on things that didn't bring me comfort, I had to stop and take a look at that and say, working longer just so I can buy stuff is not a good enough reason for me to be continuing this cycle. And so I started taking a hard look at that and retraining my thinking. It wasn't as hard as you think that it would be. Once you sit down and really take a look at that and prioritize what is the most important in your life, you start looking at things in a whole different manner, and you start deciding that buying some of these things on a regular day-to-day basis isn't a good enough reason to keep up this pattern in your life. It's not a good enough reason to cut back the years that you could be enjoying when you probably are physically in better shape than you're going to be in, say, a year from now. All of us age. That is just the life that we live. And sometimes we fool ourselves in our 30s and 40s thinking we have all of this time and that we're not going to age. And we see that person having difficulty walking across the parking lot and we think that's not going to be me. But guess what? It all ends up being us at some point. So making it easier on ourselves now by stashing away some of that money, getting out of debt, and being able to regain some time in our lives while we're still able to walk across that parking lot, those things are what really matters. But sometimes we cannot see it until that 50-year-old birthday hits, and then we start looking at things totally differently. I know that was the way it was for me. Let me know your thoughts. I always love hearing from you. I thank you so much for watching today. If you could give me a thumbs up or hype the video, I would appreciate it so much. It helps my videos get out there and it helps me so much as a creator. I appreciate your time again today, and I hope to see you in the next video.